And the reality is, you have a bunch of people, professional politicians, super PAC puppets, following slogans handed over to them by their 400-page super PACs.
Give me that mugshot. You looking whiter than a sunblock. T-shirt money, they probably hoping to run stop. Hoes in your story, got Vivek looking like SpongeBob. Everybody easy until they watching the plane drop. Bam, this is my jam. Scooter getting dropped like an HBO plan. People saying Oliver was just a new plan. Conservative hero until he tell you not, fam. It's about you. All these motherfuckers in their mansions. Kick us out like apartments got a ransom. Hit the moon like I'm India, we landed. Paper over history, making some is the answer. Jordan looking mad while bitching about being canceled. Ronald McDonald, pseudo professor, you an asshole. Trying to have your own good summer. Elon Musk is trying to change you whoever wins first. Russia, come on. Wow, what I do now. Everything changes, things can get dangerous. I just get loud. They say the rich get richer and the times get bigger. I'm just built different. I'm just built different. Let's get it, yo. I don't plagiarize shit. I write on my own records. Y'all like Trump a bad man, but I vote for him in a second. We got Rip Van Winkle versus all of the clowns from the Logan Paul school of do you fuck with me now? It's fugazi, looking pretty shady. Tragedy been hitting kinda freaking pretty lately. I just want the joy like Incogni meeting Noda again, while all the writers still fighting just to pay for their rent. Yeah, culture war, I'm not keeping score. You can't see the number, you just rust the Ford. The world is so fast, the gas you might crash. Get shot for a pride flag so bitches can clap grab. Yeah, bad idea like Kylie getting the brat stall. Snow White drama, who really getting the first call? Tell me how to fight this, I'll be on your hype shit like water on a tarmac when you flying with United. Wow, what I do now. Everything changes, things can get dangerous, I just get loud. They say the rich get richer and the times get bigger. I'm just built different. I'm just built different. Hey, ooh, this was a surprisingly insane week. Hey, thank you guys so much for watching Freestyle the News. If you like what you heard, please hit that like button with a giant hammer and then hoist the like button over a giant tank filled with piranhas so that when the like button sees the piranhas' frowny faces, they're actually smiles, so you're kind of like doing a bit. FYI, RIP to Arlene Sorkin, the original voice and the inspiration for Harley Quinn. RIP to Bray Wyatt. RIP to Bob Barker. All legends in their own right, and thoughts and prayers and love to the victims of the Maui fire. I know there are a lot of people who are still missing. Please, there are links in the description if you can donate. And we have a lot to talk about today, but before we get into it, I just want to make a clarification on the Spotify thing. We submitted for it to go live on Monday. We haven't received the ISRC codes yet from DistroKid, so it's probably going to go live Tuesday or Wednesday, but it has been submitted. It's like 24 tracks. It's a pretty large bunch of songs. We're also releasing all the songs from August separately, and that should go live around next Monday. Not this coming Monday, but the Monday after. And then from then on, I think we're going to try to release the songs every single Monday. So yeah, a whole lot of music coming to streaming services and Spotify as well. We're going to be throwing up some new like exclusive stuff on Too Soon Crew this week and doing a couple live streams for Too Soon Crew members only. So if you haven't joined Too Soon Crew, now's a great time. But let's go ahead and jump into the breakdown. And this week really felt like similar tactics but different outcomes over the previous years. I'll explain what I mean, because we're gonna start with the 2024 Republican primary debates. The Republican Party held its first series of debates for the 2024 presidential election with a very notable absence, Donald Trump. And in his absence, you had a couple people try to step up and really take the spotlight. It was a contest of who was going to be the most talked about candidate walking out of this thing. And it feels like Ron DeSantis and Vivek Ramaswamy came out of it being the most talked about people for the worst reasons. So let's start with Ron and his like terrible fucking smile. Ron DeSantis has had a rough time over the last few months trying to be the front runner for the Republican nomination. He was the guy everybody was picking to take on Trump, and he's really struggling now. There was this weird moment where Ron like gave an answer and then did this weird like Terminator-like smile. Like I'll simulate it for you. And that's why I think pancakes are better than waffles. It's just really fucking weird, Ron. His ongoing battles with Disney, him just kind of getting dunked on. Ron is just not doing well. Because him trying to be a candidate is the narrative. He's just trying to be a candidate. The other person who came out with a lot of press around him was Vivek Ramaswamy. I fucking hate this guy. Again, not because he's effective, because he's not. Everybody attacked Vivek Ramaswamy, and then he attacked everybody else. But really, all that came out of it, like literally almost every single article that's come out about this guy is like, who the fuck is this guy? Who is this random motherfucker just talking all spicy? Vivek didn't have a very effective night for himself. He made a pretty good case for him to be Donald Trump's vice president because he was constantly defending Trump, constantly pushing culture war bullshit, constantly just like sniping everybody. The only analogous thing I can really compare it to is Pete Buttigieg at the first Democratic presidential debate, because Pete Buttigieg was sniping a lot of people when he came out at one point. And it may actually effectively help him because he got all of that press. People are going to look into him. It's going to get him some nice Google searches. But I can't stress enough, and I know that people have like a lot of bias about like, well, you're underestimating somebody. I'm not underestimating this guy. Most of this media cycle feels like we need to find something new to talk about, and everybody else on that stage has an established story that isn't that interesting. The only other interesting things that came out of this debate were Mike Pence was composed and Chris Christie dissed Vivek Ramaswamy. Like, that's the only fucking thing. Meanwhile, Trump did a debate with Tucker Carlson, which aired on Twitter, which you can't get any clear fucking metrics on. I don't know. It just marks the start of the 2024 campaign, like really in earnest. And if I can give a hot take, I really don't think Trump has this entirely sewn up yet. I think he has a really, really good foothold, but the more polls and the more news cycles that come out about him being a criminal makes him a real liability in the general. And after a number of losing election cycles, I don't think Teflon Don is going to be really that invincible down the stretch a little bit more into this primary. But we'll have to wait and see. He's still the front runner. Especially because all these fucking grifters on stage who were like, oh, you know, it was a good thing that we kept the election. This guy tried to overturn it and it was fucked up, but I will still vote for him if he's the fucking party elected person. You know, I'm a fucking piece of shit. Also, in other news, Trump got his mugshot taken. He surrendered himself to Fulton County authorities. Him and his cronies who look like fucking Batman villains. Trump trying to fucking smolder the whole time. And immediately people are starting to sell merch of this mugshot. Even I thought about selling merch for a second, like it'd be kind of funny, but then I was like, that's probably in bad taste. Capitalism did not pop off today, gentlemen. I think this guy lives off attention, and any attention he can get, especially around that fucking thing, which he 100% is gonna try to monetize on, is probably not a good thing to help him play into. But yeah, here's his mugshot. He looks fuck ugly, but you know, fuck ugly. Something else we also mentioned this episode in passing was data harvesting. More and more as time goes on, protections are being rolled back and people are in genuine danger of having their personal info and their lives recorded and sold off to the highest bidder. It's a real issue, and you feel the force of it every day as people swap and sell your information like hotcakes, and then you just get bombarded with ads when you just want to hang. Last week I received like 30 separate spam calls over 4 days, and they all had like my hometown area code, which is wild. And during Evo, I was super paranoid about this because we're on a big project and I start to get these texts that feel like they're phishing for information, which is fucking terrifying. Your social security number could be out there. I know one of my emails has been swapped around everywhere. And in order to get off their radar, I would have to literally individually email every data broker who has this information that they shouldn't have and are selling, and I have to request it come down with specific language and all that. Which is why I highly, highly, highly recommend the sponsor of today's show, Incogni, because they will do that for you, legit. At the start of last week, I decided to do like a test. I entered in that email, which I felt had been compromised and had been thrown around everywhere, and I just wanted to see what would happen. And immediately found like 95 places where my data was. And in about 4 days, about 1/3 of those places have already taken it down, and the vast majority of the other ones are in the process of taking down that information. That is like legitimately important. That's my address, my phone number, how I look like, what I like to do. I'm positive those have been sold a lot over the years, and now they're gone. It was mad easy. It was set it and forget it. It was reasonably priced, and it was very heartening. And look, I have a reason to do it because I'm a content creator now, and I'm very worried about stuff in my email and everything like that getting leaked. But just in your daily lives, I cannot stress how scary those things can be. There's a lot of bad faith actors. I've had one of my emails hijacked and just lost a bunch of music and a bunch of content over time. So listen, if you are worried about your data, and if you'd like to support this channel and me rapping, please go to incogni.com/Tabani and enter in code Tabani. That's my last name. They like my last name. But enter in code Tabani and you will get an insane 60% off an Incogni plan. That is stupidly reasonable. 60%. That's a Ken combo in the corner with no drive gauge. And sincerely, I do believe as AI gets more sophisticated, as people who own social media platforms get more erratic, your information is in free fall, and it's important to have that protected. So go to incogni.com/Tabani, enter in code Tabani, and get some peace of mind. All right, back to the breakdown. The other story I did want to talk about that I don't think has been covered nearly enough is the Ronan Farrow article about Elon Musk and Starlink and Ukraine. Now, Ukraine and Russia have had a very interesting week. Number one, because the chief head of Wagner, the mercenary group that Russia was working with and then tried to pull a coup on them and all that kind of shit, well, his plane mysteriously crashed and he was on it and he died. And Putin was like, oh no, how? What? That's crazy. You died in that? So yeah, there was that insane tidbit of information, and then there was this article, and it's a pretty damning fucking story here. And I think the only reason it's not being covered enough is because Elon Musk has done so many crazy fucking things. People are like, oh, well, what's more thing on the pile? No, this is important. So if you don't know, for a while, Starlink was being used by Ukraine in the Ukraine-Russia war. Elon Musk offered it to them. They've been using it. But as time went on, and as Russian propaganda got bigger and bigger and bigger, Elon started to buy into it. Because fucking, of course, contrarians do what contrarians do. And started to spout off Russian talking points like, well, Russia only wants peace. Why the fuck would we not just want peace in that region? And he tweeted shit like this out. People were like, that's kind of fucked up. And then he like pulled back, whatever. After a number of interviews that Ronan Farrow conducted, it turns out that there were certain points in the Ukraine-Russia war where communications with Starlink would just go completely kaput. Really intense scenarios where they're in the middle of like a crucial battle where they need communication, and all of a sudden their chief link to all of that is gone. Multiple instances of Starlink acting up that are way too coincidental, along with Elon's tweets, make it seem like this motherfucker is trying to manipulate things and shift things in his favor. And the article goes on to detail other industries where Elon has privatized the industry and kind of cornered everybody's reliance on him to work through that. NASA is another big one. NASA works really, really heavily with SpaceX. So by that nature, Elon can dictate a lot of the space protocol in the United States. Electric car infrastructure. If you have an electric car, I bought an electric car recently. You know that EV infrastructure is actually really dependent on what Tesla does, because they're kind of monopolizing and holding on to a lot of the infrastructural elements that would actually blow this whole thing up. But it was just a really damning article about Elon Musk and how he's kind of leveraged himself into that position. And as for my thoughts on it, look, I think it's one thing to think of Elon as like this monstrous, crazy entity who we didn't see coming. He's not. He is a person who is subject to rabbit holes, which I mentioned before. And this is an issue where when you corner a market and the market is the only check on somebody like this, but he has it cornered, the world is his yes man. He can just fucking do things. And that's like legitimately scary, because anybody, any human being with their finger on something can just do whatever the fuck they want and have abject power. Everybody's subject to bad days and stupid decisions. One stupid decision that this guy doubles down on means a lot of people get fucked. Already seen it with X. We've seen it with Tesla too, which is a successful company. And now we're seeing it with Starlink and with SpaceX. I'm just kind of happy that his brand is pretty like out in the open. People see what the fuck this is. I can only hope that contrarianism will die down, but I don't think this man is going to stop being any less of a contrarian than he already is. I think he's either just gonna get his ass kicked and be fucking sour about it, or he's gonna learn a really fucking hard lesson. And that's gonna do it for today's episode, guys. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Really excited to start doing some live streams with you guys this week. We also dropped an episode on Friday that YouTube kind of suppressed, so please go check that out. It's about the influencer economy, a lot about the stuff that I just talked about, so it's important. But anyway, my name is Zaid Tabani. I hope y'all loved today's episode, and I'll see y'all soon. Let's go!